I'd like to call the regularly scheduled Board of Finance meeting for Monday, April 20th, 2015 to order. First order of business is public forum. Anyone want to address the board in public forum? Hearing none, let's move on to item 2, approval of minutes. 2.1 would be the budget workshop minutes of March 9th, 2015. Are there any comments, questions, suggested changes, deletions, etc.? Anybody? Page 5, okay.
The second paragraph from the bottom, the one that starts with Mr. Hoey said both budgets are well crafted.
Yep.
He added that this, I think it should say this is a result
Right.
of funding the pension plans as recommended.
I had one on the same page, the next paragraph. The sentence that begins, he added that debt service is the debt service and it is the biggest driver relative to taxes. I'm not sure I was that redundant. I think I said he added that the debt service is the biggest driver relative to taxes. So would strike is the debt service and it. You got others, Jeff?
Next page, the first full paragraph that starts, Mr. Alice, thank everyone in the room. And then I think the next line down, the line that starts process since December, and I said, I think it should be even though, not even thought.
Any others? Call the question as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carries. 2.2, regular meeting minutes of March 16th, 2015. Comments, questions, suggested changes? Mike?
Two that I noticed on the first page, second paragraph, first line, Bloom, Shapiro.
Blue Shapiro, yeah, good call.
And I honestly don't remember exactly which one, but I think one of the bond motions. I think it was the one for the school facilities of 3.595 million.
Okay.
In the vote. Mr. Trotta is missing. And I honestly don't remember if it was an opposed or abstained. Mr. Trotta, you might be able to.
There was one of the bond initiatives that I did oppose.
There was one you opposed.
For the security, I was in favor.
You're not mentioned in the one for the 3.5, but you are in the other one as a yes. So I figured that was my assumption. So I just wanted to confirm that.
The last one was the elevator.
It's on page 9, I'm sorry. To be clear, it's on page 9. That motion on page 9.
Oh, yeah, I'm not even listed there. Yeah, I see. Page 9. Yeah, that was actually, I was opposed to that.
And actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's right. Okay. Yep, that's it.
Thanks.
Okay.
Anything else? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, I'll abstain, I was not there.
Yes. Item 3, correspondence, 3.1, standing building committee minutes, which we did not have. As Tracy had indicated, she still didn't have the finals. Mike, however, does have a copy of the draft minutes, and he's got a couple of things that he wanted to bring out, or bring to our attention.
I don't think this board's been updated in possibly a couple of months just
Yes.
because of the timing. So I figured it would be good just to provide a quick rundown. I know you don't have the meeting minutes in front of you, but I'll do a high level.
Thank you.
Police Department HVAC project, punch list is completed. And actually the contractor's working on the punch list now, so it should be completed soon. Just a couple minor items. Adams Windows and Doors renovation project, April vacation just passed us, and the work was supposed to be complete on that as of vacation. That was mostly because of the gym doors that needed to be replaced, and they had to wait until April vacation. The district-wide security upgrades are basically complete with the exception of a couple of minor punch list items. Melissa Jones, there was a recommended, this is the security upgrades at Melissa Jones and renovations. The building committee recommended a contract with a general contractor contingent upon the vote tomorrow. And that project would be beginning on June 1st. Adams Elevator Replacement Project, the plans are approved, and it's recommended to go up to bid by the committee. Science Wing renovations. A proposal was accepted for design work for the fire protection system that's needed because obviously it's been cut off. It's a long story, but design-wise, it wasn't needed when the addition was put on, but now it's a standalone building, so it needs it. There was also, just so you know, when you get the minutes, there's utilities that are needed to be brought to the building.
Right.
And the RFP went out, and only one bid was received, and it was higher than the budgeted amount.
Okay.
So they are rebidding it for the utility, utilities to the science wing, so that's a rebid. And then, let's see. Under old business, there was a comment about the committee members agreeing to send a letter of intent for performance contracting to 4 contractors under the state program. This is performance contracting that's come up a couple of different times with the building committee that I believe some of the members of this board attended several months ago when there was some discussion about that. So an RFP or a letter of intent to do that is going out. So you'll hear more about that. And then you probably read about the Guilford Lakes project.
Right.
And the roof there, there was a proposal for some structural engineering services for repairs at the roof. And I have something for the Board of Ed when they come up, but and some of us might just because of the meeting minutes.
Good.
But that's the update from the last couple of months in the building committee.
Good. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple quick questions, Mike. Regarding the science wing, which at some point will undoubtedly need a new name since it's not going to be a wing, as you point out. It's a standalone building. We'll have to have a contest. But for now, we know what you're talking about.
Just not the yard goats.
Definitely not the yard goats.
What's the road? What is the road access to that going to be? Like, is it going to have to come down?
There's
In front of the other
parking right by
building?
the building. I'm fairly certain that the parking is going to be, there's going to be parking close to that building that's going to be
Because
located.
there's going to be fields though built.
Fields where the parking is now.
Right. So the access is to get to that building, standalone building, is going to have to loop around.
I can't remember exactly the site plan. I remember parking being nearby that building now.
Okay. Okay. So it'll have its own parking is the point.
Should, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's the west parking for the school itself.
Right,
The
it's
west entrance
overflow
parking.
kind of for the school, but
Right.
it's parking for that particular building
And
in
for
the
the
future.
playing, and for all the playing.
And for the
fields.
playing fields, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Now, Mike, do you have a little more information about what's going on at Guilford Lakes? I think I read that the beams were splitting. Is this possibly some kind of flawed construction?
Yeah, I was gonna hold off until Board of Ed, but I don't know that much detail. I know I do know that there is an issue because of the beams being just older, that they are glue laminated and the glue just starts to,
Separate.
after a while, just because it dries out, it splits. It's not an immediate danger, it's just the beams are getting old and starting to split. The structure is still there, but they're just starting to come apart. So for precautionary purposes, the scaffolding was put up and they just have to basically replace the beam with a new laminated beam. My question that would have been to the Board of Ed is just to make sure that there was no warranty issue, because I did read in the minutes that the roof had been replaced about 3 years before. But it's a completely separate issue. The roof was replaced, but had nothing to do with the structure of the beam that's
Okay.
delaminated.
That's what I was driving at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to bring that question up to the Board of Ed.
There was no question as to what that would cost to repair that, because I
Yeah,
noticed that in Linda's notes, she had indicated that they were setting aside about $20,000 for,
I know that the
Repair.
study that I just referred to in the building committee meeting minutes for the structural was 6,000. was the amount.
6,000.
Yes, for the design and the engineering of it. I don't know the cost of replacement.
We don't have the cost of replacement yet. The 20,000 that I reference is for the rental of the scaffolding to get us through to the
I
end of the
see.
school year.
I see.
And then there are 2 bonds that have been identified that we can use for the repair over the summer, but I don't have total cost yet for those items.
Anything else? Thanks, Mike. We got 2 pension committee minutes. Any comments or questions? Did we have updates on pension performance?
The annual return as of the end of March is 1.4%, but there's a new format that you don't have to look at.
Okay. I did have a question, and this is in response to a question that the first selectman had asked the committee about concerns with pension year-to-date performance not meeting the benchmark. And one of the members stated there's no concern because the breakout percent is about where we should be. I'm not sure I understand that. If we're behind, you know, our benchmark is 7.5% per year in terms of earnings. But I think he's referring to a benchmark of other indices, like the S&P 500 he mentioned. And I don't even think what we're doing is close to the S&P 500, is it?
No, and there's been a lot of discussion about that, which is why that report actually shows each manager and the benchmark that they are measured against, because
Okay.
you can't, you're exactly right. There's a different index for each one of the managers, and you just can't compare the whole portfolio to one broader index.
Okay. Well, the issue still remains, we're not making the target at this point, right?
No, not this year,
Right.
unless there's a turnaround.
But we have had pretty substantial growth over the last couple of years, and they typically look at these things in 3 to 5 year rolling averages.
We have 3-year asset
3-year
smoothing.
Right. 3-year smoothing, that's right. Okay, it is what it is. Any other questions?
Their comment to me was basically that in the current marketplace,
Yeah.
we're not doing that bad compared
Okay.
to the marketplace, but
Right.
my concern was the target.
The target, yeah.
I wasn't happy.
I didn't think you would be. Anything else on pension? No? All right, item 4, review and accept the report of expenditures for the Board of Education for March 2015. Linda and Barbara Dudley, the presenter. You guys always bring a backstop with you too, though. Don't you? Got the pinch hitter, peanut gallery. What are performance reviews do? Linda, or Barbara, what would you like to bring to our attention?
Just we're presenting bills for the month of March, which were a total of $4,180,996.18,
There we go.
which is 64.85% of the budget. And thanks to Linda's great overview, she tells us that that is where approximately $80,000 of unexpended and unencumbered funds, which was about $10,000 better than last month when we came. Shows a revenue of $10,914. Most of these, there was are approximately the same as prior years. Salaries, employee benefits, purchase services. Tuition still is running a little higher than the budget, but we'll get more details next month. Let's see. Transportation is also higher than the prior year, but we'll give you more details next month. that, of that 80,000, Linda tells us that salaries are under budget, which is the largest contributing factor to that end of the year balance. Let's see, employee benefits is under budget, purchase services is over budget, mostly as contributed from legal expenses. I think it was interesting in this month's, showed a lot of the snow removal costs, which to date are $24,400, which is $14,000 over budget. Tuition is continuing to run over budget. Materials and supplies, capital under budget, and transportation also is running over budget, but we'll make those adjustments a little later. For the warrants, let's see, it shows right up from the page 1, district snow removal. We're going to see quite a few warrants related to this snow removal. As we know, we've had some extraordinary costs this winter that are running over budget. Let's see, on page 4, the bus yard diesel, that huge amount is reflective of the fact that now we have that nice big tank in the parking lot that is much bigger than was there before, so we will be able to have fewer fill-ups, and but the cost is larger for delivery.
So would that solve that problem that we had 1 year with regard to pay? We had to pay storage because we had ordered more than we needed and we didn't get it delivered to the previous year. If we're storing it on site, I take it that that eliminates that issue?
Right, we should be able to fill up the tank. Right now, I think that we will use everything that we had contracted for, so there shouldn't be any storage.
Okay. Because the storage that we were paying for was off-site storage
Right,
at the supplier.
right.
A question on why the textbook allocation, as we're winding toward the end of the year, I know sometimes you defer it, but it's only at 11% expended. Are we realizing savings in textbooks?
No.
Because we have overages and other things?
No, they're looking ahead to next year. We do have some expenses that we were just looking at
Right.
right now for a new textbook.
Right, and there were some items that were budgeted in this year that we actually purchased at the end of last year so that we could get them in, so we purchased them early, which is part of the reason why we haven't expended some of those funds. We made the purchase last year. And there will be some coming up before the end of the year.
So we're not cutting back on anything because of overages
There-
elsewhere?
Any textbook orders that come through that are needed right now, we are doing, and most of them are small, replace a couple books here and there. We're not
Well,
doing
the
any.
whole budget line is small, actually.
Right, so we're not doing any major purchases, and, during the year, we may have one coming up at the end of the year.
And those will be implemented in the following school year, right?
Right.
That's typical. I want to stay in supplies and material. Building and teaching at 59%, substantially lower, basically almost 20 percentage points lower. Are there plans for that? There are some encumbrances, which might get you back to where it needs to be, but,
Well, the encumbrances that are there are already factored
yeah,
in.
exactly.
That is one of the areas that, because of the freeze that we had put on,
Discretionary.
that has become a little more discretionary, so the schools have been really good about monitoring purchases. You may see that go up a little bit. A number of the schools have just placed orders to replenish paper stock and some toner orders. There are some things that are going through now. It's not going to be up to the 70% that it was prior.
Gotcha. Yeah, given the fact that you don't have contingency, there are the line items that you have to put a freeze on in order to make sure you stay underneath your budget. We understand it, and similar actions have taken place on the Board of Selectmen side. Do you have a question?
I was just curious, for the entire budget, we're kind of doing okay, despite some items that have gone up. Are we doing a little better on the revenue the school takes in, or is anything better than expected, maybe reimbursements for special ed, or?
We are actually getting more of the Medicaid revenue in that we've had in the past. We're really working hard to address, to look for any items that can be submitted to Medicare for reimbursement. So that revenue has gone up. Otherwise, state revenues have gone down. We're waiting to hear what's going to happen with the excess cost grant. We don't really get a lot of revenue. Most of it is reimbursement items.
I'm sorry, I should have said reimbursement.
It's okay.
I want to follow up on that. Last month, I think you indicated when you answered to one of the questions that we had received more in excess cost grant money this time, when we got the payment,
Right.
than we had anticipated. My question is, I don't know if the March expenditures are a typical run rate. It's about 275,000, which would suggest 3 months left in the year. $800,000 worth, $825,000 worth of additional expenses, and your available balance is only 430. Do you anticipate another round of excess cost grant reimbursements?
There is another round of excess cost grant coming in at the end of May.
Okay.
With what I'm projecting for the excess cost grant and what I know for the tuition bills that we're going to have through the end of the year, right now I'm projecting that tuition is going to be $247,000 over budget. So we are going to have to do another budget transfer, and I'm holding off because I really want to see what that final excess cost grant number comes
is.
in at.
Okay.
Because right now I don't know, the state still hasn't given us a definite amount.
Well, there's where a bunch of your building and teaching money is going to go.
Well,
Has there been, I'm looking back at some old business, I'm not sure I had this paperwork for a workshop that you had on February 23rd, where the board considered the recommendations of Dr. Borland. And in just reading over the summary of that, it suggests to me that you folks are going to be looking at some increased expenditure somewhere to fund some of these recommendations, and I don't know whether that's been anticipated in the new budget or not. If you look at that,
It's my understanding that the board approved moving forward with the IB program at its last meeting, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess your question is, are there costs associated
Yeah,
with
the
it?
costs
And are they
associated with it.
contemplated in the upcoming
right,
budget?
right.
yes, there is money allotted for the IB program. Some of the other recommendations from the study that was done by Dr. Borland are being looked at and considered for phasing in, knowing that we have budget constraints, looking at what we can do now without spending a lot of money, what we can do within our budget for the coming year, and then planning ahead for future to implement some of those changes.
We're going to prioritize some of those and do some that we can do right next year that aren't expensive, as Linda said. The ones that have the cost, we can look at and examine.
Sounds like the same approach you took when we got the report on special education a few years ago. There are some things.
Exactly right.
There are some low-hanging fruit that you can grab that doesn't cost anything.
Right.
There are probably some other items that are going to have price tags associated with them that we need to plan
Right.
for.
But when he's talking, when the recommendations involve, I'm quoting, paraphrasing, differentiation of instruction, additional training, more time for collaborative planning, that's money. And so all of that's going to be phased in and considered. It's not necessarily, we haven't necessarily accepted all of the recommendations.
Oh, no, each one is going to be evaluated and looked at very carefully as to whether we want to do it or not.
There are
We
just
have a choice.
no huge
Ken,
implications.
I don't want to quibble, but I just want to make sure that people understand. A fuller read of that says that his primary recommendation centered on differentiation of instruction, though he stated that the training had been provided in the district, but more time for collaborative planning. So
That's-
we've already made the investments, some of the investments along these lines, and it isn't all going to be incremental costs.
We're already doing
We're already doing- yeah.
instruction.
Could I just clarify?
Sure.
When we were going through the budget process, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that the budget for next year was, we were just applying for the IB process. So there was limited money to do that. So it wasn't going to be, it was not going to be fully implemented.
No, and
In
you'll see
September.
in your warrants that they,
Right.
all they've done is to apply for.
It's really just the application. If anything's going to hit, it's really going to be, and it was supposed to be a fairly minimal amount because of what you just said, is that we've already been kind of doing it with the training. But that's going to really be next budget cycle. This budget cycle is really just the application, or actually the application's already in.
Yeah, application's
And it's
already
going to be some limited steps, but
Right.
it really doesn't kick in until the next budget. Jason, is that correct? Okay. Because I remember having the same concern. How much of the IB is going to be this budget season? And it was very minimal.
No, it's not much for next budget.
Could we get a copy of that report? Did we get?
We did.
We did?
Well, some of us did. I got a copy of it.
Which, the,
Dr. Borland's
It was
report?
online, I think.
It's also posted on Chisholm.
I believe it's on,
It was
it's
posted,
on,
was it not?
it's on
Yeah.
the website.
Posted in PDF downloadable fashion?
Yeah.
I believe so.
If I
If not,
can
contact me
download it,
tomorrow and I
anyone
can, or contact me and I can
Your
get you a
skills are
copy if
getting
it's not,
You can now
if you can't get it.
Could have been filed. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Either on direct expenditures, warrants, or any of the meeting minutes? Did anybody else only get odd numbered pages, or is that on, I'm the only
No,
odd
I-
fellow here?
Same here. No even. So we're
I'm in the
on.
same boat.
Yeah,
You in the same boat?
I apologize
Don't
for
worry
that.
about
I
A
can
lot of
send
people
you,
consider me odd, so I figured that was that's how it works.
I can send out a full copy tomorrow if
That
you'd
would be
like
good.
it.
The warrants.
It's funny, it's on,
All right, see, who really read the warrants and found out that they were missing those pages? Okay, now we know.
It's a thin 12 pages.
Okay, anything else,
Looks like
Board of Ed? Hearing none? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Enjoy your evening. Is there a motion to accept the report of expenditures for the Board of Education for March 2015 in the amount of $4,224,745?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals? No. Thank you all. Item 5, review and approve expenditures for town government for March 2015. Good evening, Sheila.
Good evening.
Gonna start with revenues?
I think so. Revenues are,
it's
tell a
incredible.
good story.
It's an incredible story. Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll just always start with revenue. Okay, so I'm going to try to get my report. I was just shuffling papers. We have collected about 100% of our revenue. Is that where we are? 99.6%. And last year, we were at 98.9%. The tax collector, though, has collected 100% of her budget. She still has some delinquent taxes to collect, so we anticipate more revenue coming in. So I did a little comparison to last year, what was collected between April and, say, July, for the sake of fire department and taxes. And that number was 1.1 million, over 1.1 million. So this is not a conservative estimate by any means, but if we take that number and add it to where we are now, we are, at $1 million surplus.
More because you have other departments probably that are going to.
Right.
Continue to produce revenue.
And we will have a surplus on the state side as well, small surplus.
Small surplus.
So I'm just giving you a ballpark figure at this time. It's very good. I mean, it's not going to, we've already collected our budget pretty much. I mean, the ECS grant will come in and that will cover what's remaining on ECS. And the transportation is a little bit off of the budget, maybe 1,000 or 2,000, but still right there.
So what you're telling us, this is the Bob Hartman question?
A little early to ask that, but
That didn't stop him.
No.
He started asking it in February, I think, right? So you're, at least on the revenue side, you're looking at $1 million in surplus.
I look at trying to calculate fund balance as three components: revenue,
Yep.
payroll, and non-personnel expenditures. So I piece them all together, and then there's Board of Ed too. So the revenue is going to be probably in excess of $1 million surplus.
Which is certainly significant enough to carry the increase in our contribution to the undesignated fund balance to stay at the 6 to 8% that we currently are.
Well, it comes at a good time because we're going to be issuing another set of bonds in August for the high school, and we'll do another rating presentation. And
Perfect.
Sheila, is that the last bonding for the high school?
no, it's the second
Second.
of four,
Second of four.
trying to spread out the way the debt service comes on to
Yeah,
the
great.
budget, yes. The only caveat I want to make with taxes is there are some tax appeals that are open,
Right.
and should any settle for more than we thought, and that the taxes had been paid on it, there would be a refund. So that, could impact, but I think they're doing very well. They're moving along, they're settling nicely, and so we're not seeing any big refunds that are. So don't forget that when they pay, it comes in and then it goes out, so it does net out, but we budgeted for that. There was a.
Sheila, under the tax collector, the refunds or tax overpayments offset somewhat our collection rate because, for a variety of reasons. Are the refunds and tax overpayments all against current collectibles, or do some of those extend back previous years?
Some of them, very few of them. If they extend back previous years, that's where they impact the collection rate, really.
Right.
The current year, they don't, because if the taxes are collected and then they're adjusted,
Right.
and then they're refunded, the adjustment and the refund net out.
Yes, they do.
So it doesn't affect the collection rate.
Okay.
It affects the cash against the budget.
Budget, that's right.
But we've anticipated that.
Right, but
especially in a
it does get
value.
netted out because the current taxes may be overstated because of those refunds.
Right.
All right, I just want to make sure.
I was just curious, we have extra money coming in from the state, it's like almost 100,000 or more here.
Right, well, there were two grants that were approved after our budget was approved.
Oh, okay.
They were.
good
It was
news.
for 60.
And is the state going to hold on to the second payment for ECS right up until June 29th or whatever?
They usually pay in April, so I
Okay.
haven't heard it.
Okay. Anyone else, questions? I want to take everything up there.
Revenue from the Board of Selectmen's office.
Pardon?
340, almost 340% over projected?
Slot money. No, that's because of sale of equipment.
I see.
Yeah, obsolete equipment.
Sheila, Fire Department, are we going to be on track there? I know they had a huge month in March. I think I was the one who asked the question last month because it was very low for February collections for some, I guess we had some issues getting bills out or something, but
Yeah, staff was.
staff was,
out, or that's why we had to catch up.
If I look at last year's collections
Yeah,
for the same time
we're right
period,
there.
I'm coming up with about $39,000 short.
oh, 39 short.
But-
The other element I'd like to make on revenue, excuse me, Sheila, is if you look at building department, they're doing really well. It's because of all the economic development and all of the rock pile and all the other
Yep.
development going on now, so that's really contributing to our revenue also.
Yeah. And also, my assumption is engineering and public works is benefiting from that as well with road inspection fees, that kind of thing, with what they're doing to that intersection now.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, health. Other questions, any other questions on revenues? None. So we move to expenditures.
Okay, expenditures are a little bit not so clean cut as revenue. We are obligated 80.8% versus 79.2% last year. Encumbrances are exactly where they were last year at this time. So there are a couple of things I could bring to your attention here. Legal is over right now in the non-personnel side. The bills are in through, they're usually a month behind, and they're 2 months behind now because of timing. We just paid a February bill.
Okay.
So we're projecting that they could be 60,000, 60 or 70,000 over, if that holds. That the last bill that came in, that was $17,000. So that times 4.
And those are primarily coming through assessment appeals.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, it is what it is.
What about insurance?
Okay, so insurance actually was the next thing I was going to bring to your attention. Insurance, we will have a surplus of probably about $20,000, even though it shows 98,000 or 100,000 over right now. It's because the reimbursements haven't been recorded yet. The reimbursements, I went through today, and we're in the process of recording all the reimbursements, because there's other ones too that are in human resources. There's some, and then there's in payroll, there's like the bioterrorism that has been budgeted, the SDE grant and youth and family. None of those have been recorded yet, because we like to wait till they come in. So we just do one entry, and they're pretty much all set now. So we will record those for next month. But those are all positive.
Reimbursements from where?
Well, the SDE grant is State Department of Education that Youth and Family Services gets.
Right.
It's 23,000 or so against full-time salaries.
Okay.
Bioterrorism, Health Department.
What about the insurance line item?
Insurance is waste transfer and library.
Oh, meaning that from their funds,
Yes.
they reimburse? And
Yes.
it just hasn't happened yet?
From special funds to general funds, so it shows up as a credit.
Because on the detail, one of the items, and these aren't giant dollars necessarily, but one of the items that's over is miscellaneous insurance, which is always like, what is that? What is miscellaneous insurance?
Miscellaneous insurance is everything else besides the liability, auto, property, and workers' comp. So it could be the crime policy, fiduciary policy. They're all a small policy. There's a marina policy, not the marina pays that we pay.
But I would think those would be pretty predictable, though. Why would it be, it's $3,000 over on a,
I think the bonds are there.
oh, $1,000 over on a
Yeah.
$2,000 budget. Just,
I believe there was one bond, actually, that we had to get this year that we didn't have before. I think it was for the the assistant tax collector. That was new.
okay.
So that was something different. And then there's, I can't think of the word, I want to say amendments, but
Endorsements?
changes. Yes, we get rid of equipment that's sold and new equipment comes on. There's constantly changes to the policies.
And that would fall into that line item?
Well, it doesn't, it falls under insurance in general, but
Okay.
overall, there'll be a surplus.
Okay.
The KRMA equity distribution that's budgeted there as a credit, we
Yeah.
will not get for this fiscal year that we're in now, but we have been promised a KRMA distribution for July that will be booked for next fiscal year.
Great.
Okay, so getting back to expenditures, I talked with Kevin McGee today. He does expect the tree maintenance account to be over. It's all dangerous trees. He has no more trees that are being posted at this point. Anything that he takes down is because he has to. It's emergency work. Public Works is over in non-personnel, about 100,000 or so. As far as personnel side of Public Works goes, they look like they will probably break even on personnel side.
Okay.
So what I'm suggesting is, or what I
Inclusive of overtime?
because of workers' comp,
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword, workers'
Yep.
comp, because when, it helps us for the minute in our budget, but then long-term, it just doesn't help us with our premiums.
That's right.
So we're going to have a surplus in payroll. It's sort of early to predict because you just don't know what's going to happen, but it's probably over 150,000. I'm going to be conservative on that one.
Okay.
On the non-personnel side, probably pretty close to even, maybe, that, our goal, I think, is close to break even.
Okay.
I think I've said that before in other years and we've done better, but there's a few variables still. Police is the largest driver of the payroll surplus.
Sheila, I was looking to try to piece something together. I know we extend out utilities and fuel to the appropriate departments, so it's tough to get a feel for a gross spend in those categories throughout the town. But fuel seems, at least police department, public works, seems to be under significantly. I'm assuming that's as a result of the drop in gas prices. How does that play with our contract, though? That's,
We were locked in,
That's what I
and so
thought.
we did not have the benefit of the lower prices up until maybe 2 months ago, where
Okay.
we used up I was pretty conservative on the diesel estimate, because I didn't want to store, it's
Right.
really not fun to do that.
yeah,
And then
we've done that before.
Yeah, so we used all of our contracted gallons, and now we're into pay,
There you
and it's actually worked out in our favor. It was just good luck. So we have a surplus, we should have a small surplus on diesel for, mainly for, well, it's fire and Public Works, although Public Works did use a lot more gallons than we anticipated.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Public Works had fuel allotment of $88,000. At this point, we've used 47, I don't know, 40, about 50 of it. So we have 60 in encumbrances, puts 20,000 in negative, understanding that the encumbrance is not going to be fully exercised. So that basically says we got about 40 grand to spend on fuel for the last 3 months. So it's
Well,
probably going to be,
that the fuel line for Public Works is inclusive of all the departments, and then we bill out.
okay.
So all except for the police department. But the regular gas all goes through the Public Works, and then we
So
bill
like
it out.
building and everybody, okay. Park and rec.
I use it.
Yeah. That's part and parcel of what I was referring to. Sometimes it's tough to get a total picture of the fuel stuff because some things, utilities, you have budgeted out for every building. Fuel, you don't have budgeted out to every department.
Yeah, but we do get billed for it, didn't we?
Right. You get, yeah, you bill the departments for it.
Right.
Right. But just to try to get a holistic picture of it is a little
I can tell
difficult.
you that for fuel, all departments, the fuel line, we have $20,000 left right now.
Right now.
Today, okay? In utilities, 116,000.
Right. Does that 20,000 include the encumbrances already? That's net of the encumbrances?
I mean, there's some big numbers. I mean, we have right now about $1.6 million in non-personnel that's still unexpended.
Right.
But 750,000 of that is employee benefits, and that's pension and medical and reserve for personnel, that's going to be fully expended.
Right.
Capital's 250 of that will be fully expended. And the rest is the fire hydrants, that's 106,000, and that's 3 more payments. So, they're big numbers, but I know they'll all be expended.
Okay. Others have dominated the questions here. Mike?
Last month, I asked about the, under engineering public works, about the road maintenance winter and the encumbrances. And there seemed to be a large amount still of encumbrances, and now it's at 43
Right.
Is that going to be, you think, eliminated at some point? Or
That's
is
what
there
we're
still?
working on now. We're starting to get them, but some of the bills haven't come in yet. You know, they don't always come in immediately. And then we have our cutoffs for your meeting. So I suspect by next month,
Okay,
they
next
will be
month.
mostly on the winter road maintenance. But now I know that they probably will be buying materials to fix the roads with, and that falls under winter road maintenance too. Like,
Oh, it does.
if they use coal patch, it is budgeted. I don't know if they're going to or not this time, but
Okay.
that's under winter road maintenance.
Okay.
They will be buying a lot of it.
Oh, yeah, I guess because
I did
it
have
was
a-
caused
I
by
did have
winter.
Pothole as a question mark.
Yeah. I need a line item for that this year.
Yeah, pothole repair. There it is, right there. Pothole from storm damage.
I could create a whole department.
Yeah, for that, that's right. That's right.
Also over on summer, over on winter.
Yep. Sheila, on employee benefits, reserved for personnel, remind me what's outstanding that has yet to be settled? What contracts or?
Fire?
Fire. Okay. Capital, information systems, technology, looks like we still have 45, almost 45,000 there. Is that going to
Right.
be expended?
Yes, and if it isn't expended, it will be encumbered
Encumbered.
for our permitting system, which is a very long process at Town Hall South.
Okay.
And the scanning of all the permits, and that's ongoing.
Okay, had a couple other line items there that looks like you're gonna be spending a lot of money in the next 3 months. The communications, new phone system, 25,000.
Yeah, I was thinking about that one today. The phone company, Frontier, I think, has been around asking questions and surveying, but I don't know anything more than that. I know it's in the works. It's
Works, okay.
not encumbered yet. It might not be encumbered because it may.
Not at a point where we can make a decision, you have to go or no go. All right, also, town properties, building maintenance, about 40,000 left over there at this point.
Yeah, that's a little on the high side. That could be partially a surplus in that
Okay.
line.
And I promised my last question, related to the police building maintenance of 85,000.
Two questions that I had today when I reviewed that was the police building maintenance and town properties maintenance. I will do a little more investigation on both of those.
I appreciate that. Others?
Yeah, man, I have a question. Can we get to the warrants? There's a special fund item for Waldo and Associates, $4,700. The funding source says housing project. I'm just not certain what that is.
That's for the affordable housing grant we have. We received a grant for affordable housing study.
A study.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the sort of timeline on that? Like, when are they expected to complete the
A few
report?
months.
So this year?
Not this fiscal,
Not this fiscal year, but this calendar year?
this calendar year.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting.
Is that study something the state requires us to do on occasion?
No, that's just a grant that we received. It's, they're picking, it's a study to determine locations for possible sites for affordable housing.
Gotcha.
Areas where it'll be close to public transportation.
That's it. Others?
Yeah, I had one on special fund. The almost $232,000 for the Adams Baldwin projects, what does that cover? Does that cover the,
I think Orlando and Newly is the windows.
Yes.
well, what portion
Yeah.
of the project is covered by that 232,000?
It's, I believe it was over $1 million project.
It's got to be close to the last final
They-
large
Right.
payment, because they just have punch list items. They have those doors left, so I can't imagine there's much left on that.
Yeah, we had nearly $1.2 million allocated for the Adams Windows and related improvements projects. So, actually, more than that, I'm sorry. Nearly 1.4 million.
So we can assume that's nearly complete.
Actually, there's $258,000 in encumbrances, which would make the available balance for that entire bond issue 34,000. So between the two items, Adams Windows and Adams Windows and related improvements, Phase 2, we've spent all but $258,000, which is encumbered of the $1.425 million that was appropriated, or was approved by the voters.
See a check here for $57,000 for New York Life Insurance for annuities. Is that just to manage payments out for people who are collecting benefits in the form of annuity?
Yes, but it's for one volunteer firefighter, and we budget for that. And that's the cost of an annuity to fund their benefit payment over their lifetime.
Okay.
So it's like a pension, but it's a retirement benefit.
Does that push it off of our books and onto?
It just, it eliminates us from being pension check writers every month.
Okay.
Yes.
Individual warrants, can we ask about?
Certainly. Jonathan, do you have more?
Another question, just because I don't understand it. Kalia, whoever they are,
Law enforcement.
in Virginia. Page 37 on the 416 batch, an annual continuation fee. What kind of service do we get? What
This is
kind of-
police. Kalia was that law enforcement, that omnibus bill about anti-terrorism stuff or something, wasn't it?
No, CLEAR is what the
That's in
police
brief.
department belongs to,
Two.
and that is the
Well, it's a law
association
enforcement.
we belong to that gives us our accreditation
Right.
for
Okay.
law enforcement, and which it's a peer review also, which we received the highest accreditation for in 2014. It's a national
National.
organization. And
So continuation
that's-
fees like an annual?
It's our dues, it's dues. Yeah.
Other warrants? No? None?
Maybe one.
Okay, let's move on to medical
Wait,
benefits.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Ken.
I was just puzzled by something here. I see something like airfare to Al in capital on page 2 of the, I'm sure it's just an abbreviation, but it's curious. 4-1 batch of reports, page 2, capital, airfare to Al.
I'm thinking if it's for the ambulance, it may have to do with the ambulance.
It says fire EMS vehicles.
Right. They, yeah, I think that someone goes down there and brings it back, if I'm not
Oh, I see.
mistaken.
I see what you, yeah, okay. Just curious the way it's written.
We have to find the amount.
Does it mean in Alabama? Anything else? Medical benefits? Sheila, looks like we're still projecting a $429,000 surplus.
Yeah, you know, and the closer we get to the end of the year, the more comfortable I am with the surplus.
Right.
What's interesting is that, well, last month we had that anomaly where the claims went down and that were covered by the stop loss, and that was correct.
Right.
It was a Medicare payment that they got
had to
Medicare to
back
pay
out.
instead of, yeah.
We had to back that up.
So now, we have 19 contracts or individuals that are at 50% or greater than the stop loss. Only 4 of them have exceeded the stop loss. So of the 729,000 that's been covered, that's only 4. But there are 15 right behind them. To $2.9 million. It's 25% of our claims so far
On those guys.
are on 19 people, and the other 592 people, contracts make up 75%. That's not weighed evenly
Pretty close to the
along.
old 80-20 rule. All right, so I think what you're telling us is you fully anticipate that the ISL premium of $845,000 is going to have been well worth our investment this year.
Yes, because there are, the claims that are have not met the stop loss yet are at 147,000, 141,000, 133,000, 129,000. Those are all going to hit the stop loss next month. I would be remiss if it was June to say that, because we would miss it. And you don't want to encourage more claims, but at least we want to make it a good investment that we spent the premium.
Any other questions?
Really, it's right on the budget, Mark.
Yep, it is. Capital projects?
Capital, the reports are all new. They're formatted, they say February, they're really sort of into March. They're all there. I think they're
They're excellent.
okay.
Very easy to read right now.
Good.
I had one
One, two.
question. Fund 2, make sure I get it right, 217 with the town.
Okay.
There is one right in the middle, town property, that's 68 over, it appears. Available balance is 68.
We
Over.
will not go over. We cannot go over.
No, I know we can't go over, I'm just wondering what's driving that.
Well,
That's
it
more my
looks
question.
like it has to do with the town hall windows. And one project that needs to be done here is the Energy Task Force allocation. You know, we have the 200,000, I think we have 800,000 that we have to do some adjustments and move funding that may be over in one line to the.
That would
Energy
actually,
Task-
it would almost be like not a transfer, 'cause it's not a transfer, but it would offset that amount.
Yes,
Okay.
but you can see it's the windows that's
Yeah, it's
driving it.
yeah, that's a big portion, yeah.
Ken?
Yeah, I'm probably misreading this, but I was, my eye just happened to wander earlier this week when I was looking at this, to the summary you had for Fund 217 as of November 30th, 2015. I assume that's just a typo, you meant 2014. But it had the available balance in November of 14 for that fund of $3,325,000.
Which one was it?
217.
Okay.
Now, when you look at the summary as of this month, it went up to $3,800,000. What explains that?
There could be canceled encumbrances. One,
See the other one?
It said available balance 3.8. You want to see this one?
Yeah.
if I look at it, I could also tell
Yeah.
you.
There you are. It's like a $500,000 difference. See that number?
Yeah, it is. I think it's somewhat, as Sheila just mentioned, there may have been canceled encumbrances, et cetera. This had a number, this had an encumbrance number of
3.7.
Right.
Mhm.
So this would have been as of November, so these were probably the documents that were passed out in December.
Right.
And this had $3.7 million in encumbrances. Now we're down to $3 million in encumbrances. So there's $708,000 which has been moved.
I was looking at the total figure.
Yeah, so if some of those encumbrances were moved back into available budget, that could easily explain why available budget went from 3.3 to 3.8.
The other thing that could be possible, and I can't tell you for sure unless I saw that report, is that if we add the grant portion of a project, let's say there's funding from bonds and then there's additional funding from grants, we would add it in, and so that would create a larger budget to spend. The bulkhead is an example of that, for for one.
So Ken, I think if you were to take the encumbrances and the available balance, it's for those two respective periods, add them together for each of those respective periods, you'd see a drop in the available balance. Any other questions on the capital projects? None? Good. Building permits? Golf course? None?
I think I saw people out there this weekend.
Did you?
Not
Well,
today,
it was
though.
warm enough.
Not today.
Not today.
Sunday.
It's certainly warm enough. Anything else, Sheila? No? Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the expenditures for the town government for March 2015 in the amount of $2,047,220?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? None? Good. Thank you. Committee reports. 6.1, report on Guilford High School Building Committee. Any
Workshop tomorrow night. I'll be attending, but I don't have any
details?
details. No.
What time is that?
7 o'clock at the high school, I believe. I didn't put it in my calendar yet, because I just got the agenda today, but it's usually 7 o'clock in the media center.
I'll be sure to text you the results of the referendum while you're sitting at that meeting.
Please do.
I will.
Or maybe I'll take a break.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll leave, we'll come
Come on
back.
over to town hall, right?
Drive around.
Old business? Anybody? No. I did have one question, and Sheila, we've talked at length, or a couple of different times, perhaps not at length, about how we were going to apply the $800,000 grant that we got from the state of Connecticut for security upgrades. How are we going to manage that? Are we going to borrow less? Because we went to the voters with a full cost to bond the upcoming projects. Do we have a recommendation on how we're going to treat that?
Well, it was my understanding that it would offset the projects that have already been approved.
Okay.
So if that's the way we're going forward with that, then
Right.
when the money comes in, we will apply it, and it reduces the bond authorization.
Station? Okay. Because we haven't fully bonded for all of those projects?
No.
That's the way to do it then. Just wanted to make sure that we knew how we were planning to. Any other old business? New business? Public forum? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
All in
Second?
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Done. Thank you.